It's me, Mackenzie Marie. Today I'm going to tell you one of the most creepiest, confusing, absolutely mind-bending stories I have ever heard. And it's not just creepy, it's real. This is the Sodder children mystery. 5 children vanished into literally thin air during a house fire. It's 1945, Lafayette, West Virginia. In this small town, nothing crazy really happens there. It's Christmas Eve. The Sodder family, George and Jenny Sodder, are chilling at home with their 10 children. 5 of the kids, Morris, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jenny, 8, are all allowed to stay up late tonight, playing with their new Christmas gifts. They're doing kid stuff, sneaking extra candy, probably fighting over who gets the last cookie. But what started as a cozy festive night would be the beginning of their nightmare. Around 1 a.m., Jenny Sodder wakes up because she hears what sounds like a loud thud hit the roof of their house. It startles her. She wakes up, she's sitting there for a second, doesn't hear anything else, so she goes back to sleep. What she doesn't know is this moment right here will be the altering point for the rest of her life. 30 minutes later, she wakes up. Boom, the house is on fire. The fire breaks out and it is pure chaos. Smoke is everywhere, choking the air, and the flames are spreading so fast, it's like it's devouring the house. In the chaos, the mom, Jenny, grabs the phone to call for help. No connection, like as if it was intentionally disconnected. The house is going up in flames, so she drops the phone and she runs outside. Outside, as they're standing there coughing, gasping for air, it hits them like a freight train. 5 of their children are still trapped inside of their home that is actively burning down. The house is an inferno now. The parents are screaming their names. No one saw the kids in the windows upstairs. None of the kids were screaming. And the dad, without thought, runs right back into the burning house. But the staircase itself was already engulfed in flames, making it impossible for him to get to the 2nd floor, which where the kids were sleeping at. He runs back inside. His plan was that he was going to break into the outside of the upstairs window. George had a ladder that was always kept leaning against the side of the house. But when he bolts to grab it, the ladder is not where it usually is, which is weird because he doesn't put it anywhere else. He's in fight or flight, so he's already on to the next idea. In the desperation, George goes into one of his trucks. He tries to turn it on because he was gonna park the truck next to the house, jump on top of that, get into the upstairs window and get his kids. But his truck won't start, which is weird because the day before his truck was working perfectly fine. So he goes into his other work truck. That truck as well is not working. Bizarre that both of his cars are not working when less than 24 hours ago, they were both running perfectly fine. The 2 older brothers that make it out of the fire, they tried to use the hose, but it was frozen solid. They couldn't get any water out. Marion, the oldest daughter, she runs to the neighbors, she runs to the nearby tavern, trying to get anybody who can call for help. The house burned down to the ground in less than 45 minutes. The fire department doesn't even show up until 8 a.m., 7 hours later. Once the fire's completely put out, they start digging through all the rubbish. Jenny, the mom, she's waiting, watching, hoping that they find something, a shoe, a bone, anything. And they find nothing. They found nothing. No bones, no skulls, no teeth. 5 children supposedly burned alive in there, and not a single trace is left behind. Fact check, bones survive house fires. Cremation requires about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit for about 2 hours to fully dissolve bones. House fires rarely go over 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. There should have been bones there. So what does that mean? Either the kids weren't in the house, or someone removed their bodies before the fire was over. And get this, the mom, Jenny, she even got some animal bones, took them into her oven and started burning them to prove that a fire that short, there'd still be bones remaining. She went full CSI on these people. Remember when she tried to use the phone to call for help and we thought it was disconnected? Well, it was later actually confirmed that it was not disconnected, but rather cut. Deliberately cut. The ladder that the dad would always keep against that certain part of the house, missing, they found it 75 feet away from the house, hiding in an embankment. Something's off here. The kids are missing, the wires are cut, the ladder is gone, the car won't start. It's almost like they were being set up, or if they set this up intentionally. And we all know that I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist, and I got some thoughts of my own, which I will share later. The fire department officially declared that the fire was started by faulty wiring, but George had just had all the wires in the house checked that same year, so that doesn't really make any sense. The 5 missing Sodder children were never officially declared dead by the family, but the local authorities, oh yeah, they called it out right away. Within 4 days after the fire, they already had their official death certificates made, even though there were no remains found. The fire chief insisted that the kids must have died in the fire, with no evidence, no bones, no explanation, just vibes. He just got the vibe. The fire chief claims that he looked through all the debris, and he did find just a little bit of a bone and what he called to be a heart. And instead of turning this heart over to the authorities, or anyone qualified for that matter, he took it, wrapped it in a box, and buried it in the ground. I'm sorry, is this like straight out of a Scooby-Doo episode? What in the actual heck is happening? I honestly believe that the fire chief just said that because he wanted to close the case and be like, all right, it was just a fire. Days after the fire, the dad was like, you know what? No, that's not gonna fly with me. George goes and gets a bulldozer, bulldozes the house. He's like, we're gonna dig. We're gonna dig and find my kids. And they excavate the entire basement, thinking that if the police couldn't get to the top layer, maybe their children's bones were deeper. And he dug through 5 feet of ash, thinking that if he just kept digging a little deeper, he might find something. And with all of his efforts, they still found nothing. So anything that remained of the house was leveled. Not to erase it, but because he couldn't bear the sight, and because he wanted to build a memorial for his children. They turned the site into a beautiful flower garden. It wasn't just a garden, it was a grave, a place to go to remember their children, a place of peace, of pain, and of hope, because they still believed that their kids had to have been out there. If they didn't die in that fire, someone must have stole them or took them before the fire even started. It became clear this wasn't just any ordinary house fire. Maybe this was an act of revenge. George had some really strong opinions about politics, and he was not afraid to express his thoughts. He especially hated Mussolini, the dictator of Italy. He was from Italy, moved the whole family there. Whole family is Italian. He would tell anyone who would listen to him just how much he could not stand that guy. And this didn't sit well with people in their town because the whole area was basically Italians. A lot of people believed Mussolini was doing the right thing in time. So this didn't sit well with a lot of the people that would listen to him in town, especially the ones that still supported Mussolini. George would get into full-on arguments about these conversations, so there's theories that this house fire wasn't random. It might have been revenge on George for being so outspoken. Here's the thing though, the mom, she always believed the kids were kidnapped. People from all over, I'm talking strangers, hotel clerks, nuns, started claiming they saw the Sodder children alive. One of the first sightings actually came a couple days after the fire. A woman in Charleston, West Virginia, claimed she saw the children in a car that sped away. The worst part, she says she'll never forget the look on this young boy's face, frozen, in the backseat window, just staring at her. Another tip came from a woman who was working at a hotel in South Carolina. She said that she saw 4 of the missing kids traveling with 2 adults of Italian descent. She said she spoke to one of them, a little girl. She looked nervous. She wasn't allowed to actually speak to her because the little girl was told she wasn't allowed to talk. And the adults she was with, they acted very hostile, not saying much, avoiding eye contact, and then they checked out the next morning. And then in 1968, over 20 years after the fire, the Sodders received an envelope. No return address. Inside, one photo of a man. The mother saw it and she was sure it was her son, Louis, one of the 5 missing kids. Experts say maybe the mom, she always believed that that was a picture of her son. She took that picture and she framed it, put it on her mantle, and it stayed there. The dad, George, he hired a private investigator to track down where the photo was taken at, who was in the photo. The trail led them all the way to Kentucky. And then nothing. The guy vanished with no reports, no updates, just gone. Like someone didn't want this lead to be followed up on. So what does all of this even mean? Were the kids kidnapped by someone they knew? Sold into adoption? Because if one of these sightings was real, just one, that means the fire wasn't the end. It means the Sodder kids didn't die in that house. It means they were stolen. Despite their devastating loss, George and Jenny refused to give up on their children. Determined to find answers, they turned their grief into an unrelentless search for justice. In a bold move, they had a massive billboard along Route 16 in Lafayette, West Virginia. A striking, almost haunting display featuring a photo of the 5 missing kids and offering a $5,000 reward for any information leading to their whereabouts. The billboard read, "What happened to our children? $5,000 reward for anyone with information." Over time, as years stretched into decades, they increased the reward to $10,000, desperate to uncover the truth. For nearly 40 years, the billboard stayed standing. It wasn't until after Jenny Sodder's death in 1989 that the sign was finally removed and taken down, marking the end of an era for the Sodder family's relentless fight for closure. Every day, Jenny tended to that flower garden. The Sodder children were never found. The Sodder family never received any financial gain from the fire or from their missing children. When I first heard of this story, I thought, okay, that's gotta be an insurance claim. Maybe they set the house on fire on purpose for financial gain. The way that everything went perfectly wrong, was it on purpose? Maybe the mom didn't know. Maybe this was the dad's plan. But honestly, this is all speculation. I don't know what actually happened. I think it's strange that the 3 oldest kids, they were the only ones that survived other than a newborn that was basically sleeping with the mom. So their other kids, all their actual like babies were not saved. The whole thing is weird to me and none of it makes sense. Let me know what your theories are in the comment section below. Maybe we can figure this out. Maybe we can spark up some conversation. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the subject. If you like creepy stories like this, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It lets me know you like videos like this, so I make more videos like this. Make sure to stream my new song, Devil in You. It is out now. I'm gonna have it linked in the description box below. Shout out to this person for being in the premiere of my last video. You are an icon. You gotta subscribe here so you don't miss my next video and you can be notified when the premiere comes out. Other than that, you can follow me on any of my social medias at Mackenzie Marie, and I will see you here in my next video. Toodles!